knowledge of all modes until the adamantine concentration has been acquired. Through the acquisition of this concentration he then reaches the knowledge of all modes by means of the wisdom which is conjoined with one single moment. The error with regard to the path. Subhuti. If the bodhisattva after having fulfilled all the paths should enter on the bodhisattva's way of certain salvation, is it not so that the path of the eighth lowest is one path? That of the streamwinner another. That of the candidate to once-returnership another. That of the once-returner another. That of the candidate to never-returnership another. That of the never-returner another. That of the candidate to arhatship another. That of the arhat another. That of the pratyekabuddha another. And that of the fully enlightened tathagata another. If these paths are different from one another, how is it that the bodhisattva, after he has fulfilled all of them, should enter on a bodhisattva's way of certain salvation? If a bodhisattva should fulfill all the paths, how could the bodhisattva, the great being, on producing the eighth lowest path be the eighth lowest? On producing the path of vision be a streamwinner? On producing the path of development a candidate to once-returnership, a once-returner, a candidate to arhatship, and an arhat, and on producing the path of a pratyekabuddha a pratyekabuddha? For it is quite impossible and it cannot be that a bodhisattva, after having been the eighth lowest, should enter on a bodhisattva's way of special salvation. That is out of the question. And likewise that after entering on a bodhisattva's way of salvation he should reach the knowledge of all modes. Or likewise that, after he has attained the fruit of a streamwinner, too, pratyekabuddha enlightenment, he should enter on a bodhisattva's way of salvation and then reach the knowledge of all modes. How then, O Lord, shall we understand this, i.e., that the bodhisattva, the great being, after he has fulfilled all the paths, enters on a bodhisattva's way of salvation, and then reaches the knowledge of all modes, and forsakes the defilements with their residues? The Lord. So it is, Subhuti, so it is. It is first of all impossible that a bodhisattva, once he has become the eighth lowest, or after attaining the fruit of a streamwinner, too, pratyekabuddha enlightenment, should enter on a bodhisattva way of salvation. And without that he cannot reach the knowledge of all modes. But the bodhisattva, the great being, beginning with the first thought of enlightenment, coursing in the six perfections, transcends the 8 stages of the disciples and pratyekabuddhas with his cognition and vision. Which 8? The stage of bright insight. The stage of becoming one of the clan. The 8th lowest stage, the stage of vision, the stage of refinement, the stage of turning away from passion, the stage of him who has done, the stage of a pratyekabuddha. Having gone beyond these 8 stages with his cognition and vision, he enters, by the knowledge of the modes of the path, on the bodhisattva's special way of salvation, and through the cognition of the knowledge of all modes he forsakes the last residues of the defilements. There, Subhuti, the bodhisattva, the great being, patiently accepts the cognition of the 8th lowest and likewise the cognition and forsaking of the streamwinner, too. Pratyekabuddha. Having fulfilled the paths of the disciples and pratyekabuddhas, the bodhisattva, with the help of the cognition of the knowledge of the modes of the path, enters on a bodhisattva's special way of salvation, and through the cognition of the knowledge of all modes forsakes the last residues of the defilements. It is thus that the bodhisattva, after he has fulfilled all the paths, knows full enlightenment, and thereafter becomes a life-giving fruit for all beings. Subhuti. As regards these paths, i.e., the path of the disciples, the path of the pratyekabuddhas, the path of the Buddhas, what then is among them the path envisaged by the knowledge of the modes of the path? The Lord. Here the bodhisattva should produce the purity of the knowledge of the modes of the path. And this is it. The bodhisattva should fully know those modes, tokens, and signs by which the path is indicated, and then proclaim them to others, demonstrate and reveal them, make them known to them and establish them in them. He should be able to utter and retain in his mind all the languages, agreed symbols and meaningful sounds which are used for communication in the great trichliacosm, though always looking upon them as just so many echoes. In this way also should the bodhisattva, the great being, fulfill the knowledge of the modes of the path, and thereafter he should know the mentality of all beings. of the beings in hell the path should be known, the root cause in the fruit, and thereupon their path, root cause, and fruit should be impeded. Likewise for the animals and those in the world of Yama, of the Kinnaras, Mahoragas, Nagas, Yakshas, and men should the path, root cause, and fruit be known. And so for 14 classes of gods, the 4 applications of mindfulness to the 18 special Buddha Dharmas should be known, and the beings who should be established in the fruit of a stream winner to enlightenment, these he establishes therein. This is the knowledge of the modes of the path. When the bodhisattva, the great being, has trained in it, he can enter into the mentality of beings and demonstrate Dharma accordingly. In that way his demonstration of Dharma becomes unforgetful and fruitful. And why? Because, having known the higher and lower faculties of beings, he can well discern and understand them. He wisely knows the going and coming of beings, the decease and rebirth. It is thus that the bodhisattva should course in the perfection of wisdom in which all the paths are contained, as well as the dharmas which act as wings to enlightenment, in which the bodhisattva, the great being, should course, just as do the disciples and pratyekabuddhas. Subhuti. If, O Lord, the dharmas which act as wings to enlightenment, as well as enlightenment itself, are all dharmas which are neither conjoined nor disjoint, immaterial, undefinable, non-reacting, with one mark only, i.e., no mark, how can these dharmas which act as wings to enlightenment bring enlightenment about? For a dharma which is not conjoined, nor disjoint, that cannot bring about any dharma, or remove one. Just as space cannot bring about or remove any dharma, just so a dharma which is empty of own marks. The Lord. So it is, Subhuti, so it is. A dharma which is empty of own marks cannot bring about or remove any dharma. But for the sake of those beings who do not cognize dharmas as empty of own marks, it has been explained that these dharmas which act as wings to enlightenment lead to enlightenment. -14. The error with regard to hostile states and antidotes. But, Subhuti, Form 2. The knowledge of all modes, all these dharmas mentioned in this holy Dharma Vinaya are not conjoined or disjoint, immaterial, undefinable, non-resisting, with one mark only, i.e., no mark. And they have, Subhuti, only been expressed in words by the Tathagata for the sake of introducing beings to them, by way of worldly convention, and not as if they were ultimate realities. Therein, Subhuti, the bodhisattva, the great being, should train in every way through cognition and vision. When he has done so, some dharmas should not be penetrated. And which dharmas should the bodhisattva, the great being, who has trained them through cognition and vision, not penetrate? Which dharmas should he penetrate? He should not penetrate the dharmas of a disciple and pratyekabuddha after he has trained in them through cognition and vision. But through the cognition of the knowledge of all modes he should penetrate all dharmas in every respect. It is thus that the bodhisattva, the great being, should train in the holy Dharma Vinaya, i.e., in this perfection of wisdom. Subhuti. The holy Dharma Vinaya, says the Lord. By how much is the holy Dharma Vinaya so called? The Lord. Here, Subhuti, the disciples, the pratyekabuddhas, the bodhisattvas, the great beings, and the fully enlightened tathagatas are not conjoined with greed nor disjoined from it. And so for hate, delusion, the view of individuality, doubt, the contagion of mere rule and ritual, sensuous greed and ill will, greed for form and the formless, ignorance, conceit and excitedness, the first two. The fourth trance, friendliness to impartiality, the applications of mindfulness to the unconditioned element. Therefore they are called holy. And because theirs is this Dharma Vinaya, therefore it is called the holy Dharma Vinaya. And why? Because all those dharmas are immaterial, undefinable, non-resisting, with one mark only, i.e., no mark. The immaterial is not conjoined with the immaterial, the non-resisting and the markless. This, Subhuti, is the immaterial, undefinable, non-resisting, one-marked, no-marked perfection of the bodhisattvas, the great beings, in which the bodhisattva, the great being, should train. And when he has trained in it,